The morning light filtered through the sheer curtains, casting soft patterns on the wooden floor of my kitchen. I stood at the counter, stirring a pot of oatmeal, the familiar smell wafting through the air. It was a comfort I had relied on for years, yet today it felt like a reminder of how mundane my life had become. My husband, Tom, had left for work earlier, leaving behind an empty silence that echoed in our home. I poured the oatmeal into a bowl and glanced at the clock. Time moved slowly today, as if it were reluctant to reveal its secrets. I picked up my phone to check messages, nothing. Just another day where I felt invisible in my own life. The routine was suffocating. I longed for something more than this predictable existence. After breakfast, I decided to step outside for some fresh air. The streets of Charleston were alive with the sounds of morning, the distant hum of traffic and the chatter of neighbors starting their day. I wandered aimlessly, passing by quaint shops and historic homes that lined the cobblestone streets. Each step felt heavy with unfulfilled dreams and lost passions. I used to paint, canvases filled with vibrant colors that expressed emotions too complex for words, but it had been years since I'd picked up a brush. As I walked past a small art gallery, an impulse surged within me to rediscover that part of myself. Maybe today would be different, maybe today would spark something inside me again. With renewed energy, I made my way back home and rummaged through my old art supplies tucked away in a dusty corner of the attic. The smell of oil paint and turpentine hit me like a wave of nostalgia as I unearthed my brushes and canvases. Setting up in the living room felt liberating. I was ready to create again. Just as I dipped my brush into paint and began to stroke it across the canvas, there was an unexpected knock at the door. Startled from my focus, I wiped my hands on a rag and opened it to find Ryan standing there, my nephew, just shy of 21 with tousled hair and an easy smile that brightened his face. "Hey Aunt Emma. Mind if I come in?" he asked cheerfully. "Of course not," I replied, stepping aside to let him enter. Ryan's presence filled the room with youthful energy that contrasted sharply with my lingering sense of ennui. He glanced around at the scattered art supplies and raised an eyebrow playfully. "Art? Didn't know you still did this," he said, teasingly nudging me with his shoulder. "It's been ages," I admitted, feeling both embarrassed and proud at once. "Just trying to reconnect with some old hobbies." "Looks like you're off to a good start," he replied as he peered closely at my half-finished painting, a chaotic swirl of blues and greens that seemed disconnected from reality but resonated deeply within me. As we chatted about life, his college plans and my stagnant routine, I noticed how easily he slipped into conversation, how effortlessly he drew laughter from me even when darkness loomed over my thoughts. It was refreshing. Being around him reminded me what it felt like to feel alive. But soon enough, our light-hearted banter shifted into something deeper as we discussed our families, his father's sternness contrasting sharply with Tom's indifference toward me lately. In those moments, vulnerability seeped through our words like ink spreading across paper. "You know," Ryan said softly after a pause filled only by our shared breaths, "it's okay to feel lost sometimes." His honesty struck me unexpectedly hard. Here was this young man expressing empathy when so many adults in my life failed to see beyond their own struggles. "I've just been feeling overlooked," I confessed quietly before shaking off the weight of those words like water off feathers. Ryan nodded knowingly but didn't press further. Instead he offered a smile that felt warm against the chill creeping into my heart, a reminder that someone cared enough to listen even if just for a moment. We continued talking until laughter bubbled up between us again, a shared joke about family gatherings gone awry, and suddenly everything shifted in that space between us. An unspoken connection formed amidst laughter and understanding. As we stood side by side, him admiring my painting while discussing his latest adventure, I couldn't shake off an unsettling feeling deep within me. Something stirred beneath layers of complacency and longing for excitement beyond these walls where safety reigned supreme yet suffocated ambition like weeds choking flowers in bloom. Then came another knock at the door, a sound jarring enough to pull us both from our reverie as reality crashed down around us once more. Tom would be home soon, inevitably bringing back all those feelings buried under layers upon layers built over years spent together without truly seeing each other anymore. Ryan must have sensed it too, because tension hung palpably in the air now. A reminder that whatever bond had formed during this fleeting moment could shatter just as quickly once faced with expectations dictated by familial ties rather than genuine connection born from mutual understanding between two souls craving authenticity, amidst chaos surrounding them daily. "Guess I should head out before your husband gets back," Ryan said reluctantly while glancing toward the door as though already feeling its weight pressing down on him too. The knowledge that this brief encounter held more significance than either of us dared admit aloud lingered heavily between us now. A secret kept safe beneath laughter shared moments earlier, yet threatening exposure under scrutiny imposed by societal norms defining boundaries where none should exist based solely upon age or bloodlines binding us together through family ties rather than choice made freely among friends choosing companionship over obligation alone instead. "Yeah, good idea," came out barely above whisper, escaping lips trembling slightly under pressure mounting silently within, heart yearning desperately for connection amid isolation growing steadily stronger each passing day spent, yearning endlessly for something more tangible than mere existence lived half-heartedly behind closed doors, shielding true selves from sight lest judgment cloud perceptions formed through narrow definitions imposed upon lives led according expectations rather than desires ignited deep inside souls seeking fulfillment denied far too long now. As Ryan turned away towards freedom lying just beyond threshold separating worlds colliding momentarily before returning back into shadows cast upon lives lived separate yet intertwined forevermore, I caught myself wishing desperately things could remain unchanged forevermore, even though deep down knew better than anyone else how fleeting such moments often prove themselves when faced against harsh realities awaiting return home, once again leaving behind echoes lingering, softly fading into silence, left hanging heavy thick air surrounding hearts yearning desperately escape confines, trapping them within walls built strong enough withstand storms brewing outside yet fragile enough shatter easily under weight burdens carried silently day after day until finally breaking point reached where nothing left but emptiness remains, filling voids long since abandoned, hope replaced only sorrow reflecting back, hollow eyes staring blankly forward, searching endlessly, answers never coming forth, revealing truths hidden beneath surface, waiting patiently until time deemed right, unveil secrets kept locked tight, hidden away, hoping someday someone might discover treasures buried deep underneath layers accumulated throughout years past, unnoticed, forgotten, lost forever unless courage found rise above fear, holding tightly, shackles binding tightly, preventing movement forward. The laughter lingered in the air as Emma and her nephew, Jake, shared stories from their lives. The afternoon sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow that made everything feel brighter, more alive. They sat at the small table where she often had coffee alone, the scent of freshly baked cookies still wafting through the room. "Remember that time we went to the beach and you tried to build that sandcastle?" Jake's eyes sparkled with mischief. "You insisted it would win a prize." Emma chuckled softly, recalling the day vividly. "And it collapsed before I could even finish. I was devastated." "Devastated?" "You were furious. You started throwing sand at me," he teased, leaning back in his chair. "Only because you kept laughing," she shot back playfully, feeling a warmth spread across her cheeks. There was something about this moment, this easy banter, that felt refreshing and new. Their laughter faded into a comfortable silence, and Emma found herself studying Jake's face. He had grown into a handsome young man, his features a blend of her brother's strong jawline and her sister-in-law's gentle smile. Yet there was something more, an unspoken connection that began to weave itself between them. As if sensing the shift in atmosphere, Jake looked down at his hands resting on the table. "You look different these days," he remarked quietly. "Different how?" Emma asked, her heart quickening slightly. "More alive?" "I don't know." He shrugged as if he hadn't meant to say anything at all. Emma felt a rush of emotions, guilt mixed with excitement. She hadn't expected him to notice anything about her, let alone comment on it. "I've just been trying to find some joy in my life," she admitted softly. Jake met her gaze then, and for a moment, they both lingered there, caught in an unspoken understanding that felt both thrilling and terrifying. She could see curiosity dancing in his eyes, igniting something within her that had long been dormant. "I think it's working," he said finally, breaking the tension but deepening it all at once. Emma swallowed hard as she considered the implications of those words. What did they mean for her? For him? She was aware of how society viewed relationships like theirs. Boundaries were drawn clearly around family ties. But here they were, sitting just a breath apart, each feeling something that defied those norms. She shifted slightly in her chair, suddenly acutely aware of how close they were sitting, how easily their knees brushed against each other under the table. The air thickened between them as if charged with electricity. "What are we doing here?" she asked suddenly, needing to ground herself amidst this whirlwind of emotions. "I don't know," Jake replied honestly. "But it feels nice." Nice was an understatement for Emma. It felt exhilarating yet frightening all at once. A soft part of her craved this connection, a piece of herself she had neglected for years while fulfilling familial duties and societal expectations. Then came that moment, the split second when everything changed again, as if time had paused just for them. Their eyes locked once more. She could see uncertainty mingling with desire reflected back at her from his gaze. And then without thinking or planning or even wanting to cross any lines, they kissed, softly at first, a fleeting brush of lips that sent shockwaves through Emma's entire being. It was innocent yet charged with an intensity that left them both breathless. The world outside continued its relentless pace while inside Emma's mind swirled chaos, guilt battled excitement relentlessly. What had just happened? She pulled away quickly, heart racing as shame washed over her like cold water after warmth. "I shouldn't have done that," she whispered hurriedly as panic set in. "I'm sorry," Jake said immediately. Regret flashed across his face but was quickly replaced by confusion and longing. "No," Emma interjected firmly but gently. "It's not your fault." They sat in silence again now, the weight of their actions hanging heavily around them like dark clouds threatening rain after a long drought. Each heartbeat echoed loudly as they processed what had just unfolded between them, a moment neither could take back nor forget easily. Emma stood abruptly from the table and moved towards the sink to wash her hands absent-mindedly. Water splashed against porcelain but did little to cleanse away this new reality creeping into their lives uninvited. "What do we do now?" Jake asked quietly from behind her. His voice trembled slightly as though afraid of what might come next. "I don't know," she replied honestly without turning around. Vulnerability seeped through every word spoken aloud, now hanging thickly between them like fog rolling over Charleston's harbor during twilight hours when secrets often lay hidden beneath surface waves waiting patiently for someone brave enough to dive deep, uncover truths buried below. The sound of dishes clinking filled any remaining space left untouched by silence until eventually fading away into nothingness, leaving only echoes behind. Reminders of choices made impulsively without consideration, consequences looming large ahead, casting shadows over bright prospects once held dear, tightly within grasp, now slipping slowly through fingers like grains sand lost forever beachside. What would happen next? Would this be an isolated incident or something deeper? Questions raced through Emma's mind like wild horses galloping across open fields, untamed, free yet dangerous too. The afternoon sun began its descent towards horizon, painting sky hues orange-pink blending beautifully together, while shadows stretched longer, reaching out towards unknown futures, beckoning forth possibilities wrapped tightly within uncertainties, waiting patiently for decisions made by two souls entangled intricately within web-spun fate, threading paths unforeseen, drawn closer together than ever imagined. As the sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow through the kitchen window, I stood at the counter, my hands busy chopping vegetables. The rhythmic sound of the knife against the cutting board provided a strange comfort in the midst of my swirling thoughts. My heart raced with anticipation and dread as I replayed our earlier encounter in my mind. The kiss lingered on my lips, a reminder of how quickly life could shift from mundane to extraordinary. "Emma?" My nephew's voice broke through my reverie, and I turned to see him entering the kitchen. He looked casual in a faded t-shirt and shorts, but there was a new intensity in his gaze that made my pulse quicken. "I thought I'd come by for dinner if that's all right." "Of course," I replied, trying to sound nonchalant despite the fluttering in my stomach. "I was just preparing something simple." He stepped closer, his presence filling the space between us with an electric tension. The scent of fresh herbs mixed with his cologne created an intoxicating blend that made it hard to focus on anything other than him. I felt a mix of excitement and guilt wash over me. Inviting him over felt like stepping onto shaky ground. As we cooked together, laughter flowed easily between us, but beneath it lay an undercurrent of something deeper, something unspoken yet palpable. Each shared glance seemed to ignite a spark that flared dangerously close to the surface. "Do you remember when we used to play hide and seek here?" he asked suddenly, his eyes brightening with nostalgia. "Of course," I chuckled softly. "You always found the best hiding spots." He leaned against the counter, crossing his arms as he smiled at me. "And you always acted like you were looking for me for ages." I met his gaze, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through me at the memory. Those moments felt so distant now, swallowed by the responsibilities of adulthood and family life. "Times have changed," I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah," he replied thoughtfully, his expression shifting as he studied me closely. "But some things don't have to." His words hung in the air like an invitation wrapped in uncertainty. A part of me wanted to cling to this connection we were forging while another part screamed for caution. How could I even consider pursuing this? My marriage was still intact, at least on the surface. Dinner passed in a blur of conversation punctuated by stolen glances and lingering touches as we reached across the table for serving dishes or drinks. Each brush of skin sent shivers down my spine, igniting feelings I hadn't allowed myself to explore for years. After dinner, we cleared away plates together in silence before settling into the living room with glasses of wine. The soft glow from the lamp cast shadows around us as we sank into comfortable chairs opposite each other. "I've missed this," he said suddenly, breaking our silence as he looked directly into my eyes. "Being close to you." My heart pounded at his words. They resonated within me more than I cared to admit. It wasn't just familial closeness he craved, it was intimacy that went beyond what should ever exist between an aunt and her nephew. "What do you mean?" I managed to ask while fighting against rising emotions threatening to spill over. He leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret meant only for me. "I mean, everything about being here with you feels different now." The air thickened around us as our gazes locked once more, a magnetic pull drawing us closer together despite all reason urging us apart. "I shouldn't," my voice faltered under the weight of what was unfolding between us. "Maybe it's time we stopped thinking about what we should or shouldn't do," he said softly but firmly. In that moment, a heartbeat suspended in time, I made a choice driven by yearning rather than fear or obligation. Our lips met softly at first. It was tentative yet electrifying, as if testing uncharted waters before plunging deeper into their depths together. Suddenly aware of how precarious this moment was, the world outside fading away, I pulled back slightly but remained close enough to feel his breath against my skin. "What are we doing?" I whispered breathlessly after what felt like eternity hanging between us. "I don't know," he admitted honestly yet without regret etched across his features. "But it feels right, doesn't it?" Part of me wanted desperately to say yes, to embrace this newfound connection, but another part screamed louder about loyalty and consequences waiting just around every corner. With trembling hands resting on my knees, I took a deep breath before speaking again. We need clarity. Clarity? Or truth? He raised an eyebrow playfully, but there was seriousness beneath his tone too. It demanded answers neither one of us could easily provide amidst such tangled emotions swirling around us both now more than ever before. I think we should talk more openly about this, what's happening between us. My voice steadied as determination crept back into focus amidst uncertainty lingering still heavy above our heads like storm clouds ready to burst forth any moment now. He nodded slowly but didn't speak immediately, choosing simply watching me intently while processing everything unfolding around us tonight. This precarious dance teetering dangerously close towards temptation, beckoning forth uncertain futures ahead filled with possibilities both thrilling yet frightening too. As evening deepened into night outside, stars twinkling brightly overhead, I felt drawn towards him once again, unable to resist magnetic pull compelling us closer together once more, even knowing dangers lurking just beyond, shadows cast across walls surrounding both heart and soul alike. In that moment filled with vulnerability laid bare before each other, every fear exposed alongside hopes intertwining, we made plans for tomorrow. Casual outings exploring Charleston's vibrant streets, filled laughter, music, joy mingling freely amongst strangers, unaware secrets hidden beneath layers concealed, tightly held within hearts yearning, desperately seeking solace found only within each other's embrace. The festival buzzed with life, vibrant colors swirling around us like the music that danced through the air. Emma and I strolled hand in hand, navigating the throngs of people who laughed and celebrated, blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing within my heart. Each step felt charged with a mix of excitement and trepidation, as if we were straddling two worlds, the one filled with family ties and expectations, and another where our connection could flourish without judgment. "Look at that," I said, pointing to a stall adorned with twinkling lights. "They have those caramel apples you love." Emma's eyes lit up, her smile genuine as she turned to me. "I haven't had one of those in years. Let's get one." As we approached the stand, I couldn't help but notice how her laughter rang out like music above the festival's cacophony. It was a sound I hadn't heard in a long time, one that seemed to come from a place deep within her that had long been dormant. The vendor handed us the sticky treat, and as she took her first bite, her expression transformed into pure joy. "This is amazing," she exclaimed, wiping a bit of caramel from her chin with a carefree laugh. In that moment, all my doubts faded into the background. We were just two people enjoying an ordinary evening together, nothing more. Yet beneath this light-hearted facade lay an undercurrent of tension. The thrill of our shared secret hung heavily in the air between us, whispering reminders of boundaries crossed and loyalties tested. As we wandered through the festival grounds, I caught glimpses of couples dancing together under strings of fairy lights. They moved effortlessly, lost in their own worlds, a stark contrast to my chaotic thoughts. "Do you ever feel like you're stuck?" Emma asked suddenly, breaking through my reverie. "Stuck?" I echoed. "Yeah," she said softly. "Like there's this life you're supposed to lead, but it doesn't fit anymore." Her words resonated deeply within me. "All the time," I admitted after a pause. "It's like everyone expects you to be something you're not." Emma nodded thoughtfully before glancing away toward the crowd. "Sometimes it feels easier to escape into something new." The weight of her statement lingered between us, heavy yet liberating at once. She was right. Escaping into this new connection felt like a breath of fresh air amidst suffocating expectations. As night fell deeper around us, we found ourselves drawn toward a quieter corner of the festival, an area adorned with flickering lanterns casting gentle shadows on our faces. The atmosphere shifted, it became intimate and charged with unspoken possibilities. "What if we spent more time together like this?" Emma suggested hesitantly. "Just as friends?" I asked cautiously. She met my gaze directly, her eyes searching mine for answers that neither of us could fully articulate. Maybe more than friends, she whispered as if daring herself to speak it aloud. Before I could respond, she stepped closer, our bodies nearly touching now under the soft glow of lanterns overhead. The world around us faded away until only we remained, two souls intertwined by circumstance yet yearning for something deeper. In that moment filled with vulnerability laid bare before each other, every fear exposed alongside hopes intertwining, we made plans for tomorrow. Casual outings exploring Charleston's vibrant streets filled laughter, music, joy mingling freely amongst strangers, unaware secrets hidden beneath layers concealed, tightly held within hearts yearning, desperately seeking solace found only within each other's embrace. We spent the night together, echoed in my mind like an uninvited guest crashing into our newfound intimacy. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional too, an awakening that both thrilled and terrified me in equal measure. As dawn broke over Charleston's historic rooftops, illuminating everything in soft golden light streaming through windows, the reality settled heavily upon me like morning fog creeping across water's surface. I had crossed lines I never thought possible. I lay beside Emma as sunlight poured through gaps in curtains, her face serene yet troubled even in sleep. A reminder that choices come with consequences far beyond mere moments shared under starry skies or laughter exchanged over caramel apples at summer festivals. Yet despite all uncertainty looming ahead, I couldn't shake off how alive I felt next to her, a feeling I hadn't experienced in years, trapped within confines built by marriage obligations and societal norms dictating what love should look like versus what it truly is. But how long could we sustain this charade? What would happen when reality came crashing down? My heart raced at thoughts spiraling outwards towards potential fallout awaiting just beyond horizon, waiting patiently for truth to unveil itself. Back at home later that day, tension thickened between Emma and me as we navigated mundane tasks around house-filled echoes, past conversations lingering, unspoken fears hanging heavily over heads like dark clouds, threatening storms brewing just outside, waiting patiently to unleash fury upon unsuspecting lives. "Mornings are always so rushed," she remarked absent-mindedly while pouring coffee into mismatched mugs on kitchen counter. A ritual once comforting now tinged with unease, underscoring every movement made during those moments spent together surrounding breakfast table laden with memories past mingling awkwardly alongside present, uncertainties lingering heavily between sips taken, slowly, carefully avoiding eye contact, searching depths hidden beneath surface. The door creaked open, suddenly breaking silence enveloping room. A reminder life outside continued moving forward despite chaos swirling inwardly, threatening drown both hearts entwined so tightly yet burdened by obligations pulling apart, slowly unraveling threads woven delicately throughout years spent building lives together based upon mutual respect, love nurtured through trials faced side by side until now when cracks began forming, showing signs, weariness creeping into spaces once filled. Warmth, laughter shared between lovers transformed, strangers lost within confines created themselves. "Hey," came his voice cutting through fog surrounding thoughts swirling wildly inside head, caught off guard, glancing up, meeting familiar gaze, searching mind, seeking answers, knowing full well what lay beneath surface, unspoken truths hidden, carefully guarded behind walls built high, protecting hearts fragile enough, already shattered, pieces scattered across ground left behind, remnants past mistakes made, choices regretted haunting every decision taken since beginning, journey embarked upon long ago. Emma stiffened visibly at sound, husband entering kitchen. The warmth radiating moments prior dissipated, quickly replaced, anxiety wrapping tightly around both bodies, standing frozen, caught between realities colliding, creating tension thick enough sliced through silence hanging heavily above heads, waiting inevitable. The truth was layered beneath years of unspoken discontent, a longing for more than what their lives had become together, predictable routines and polite conversations devoid of passion or excitement. But admitting this would mean acknowledging everything else, the secret rendezvous with her nephew, the thrill mixed with guilt that had become intoxicating yet terrifying all at once. As if sensing this internal battle raging within her, he stepped back slightly, giving Emma space but leaving behind an emptiness that echoed loudly in its wake. Later that evening after dinner, an ordinary affair filled with silence punctuated by clinking silverware, Emma found herself alone in their bedroom staring blankly at reflections of herself in the mirror across from where she sat on the edge of their bed. The woman looking back seemed foreign. Lines around her eyes told stories of weariness while shadows beneath them whispered secrets long buried beneath layers of duty and obligation. Suddenly feeling overwhelmed by memories flooding back, of laughter shared over late-night talks with him, she picked up her phone again, hesitantly scrolling through messages until one caught her attention. A simple text from him asking how she was feeling after everything they'd shared recently, how much he missed those moments together, and how he hoped they could see each other soon again. The words sent shivers down Emma's spine. Excitement mingled dangerously with dread as she contemplated responding or ignoring it altogether, like some forbidden fruit dangling tantalizingly out of reach yet beckoning irresistibly closer, each passing moment spent lost within fantasies spun around desires whispered softly between stolen glances exchanged when no one else was watching. But before she could decide how best to reply or if even replying was wise at all, the door creaked open slowly behind her, breaking through reveries swirling around head, reminding once again reality existed outside fantasies played out within confines safe enough only when cloaked beneath shadows cast long over lives lived quietly amidst chaos brewing just below surface. Emma? Her husband's voice broke through uncertainty hanging heavily around them both, suddenly leaving no room left for avoidance anymore. Heart racing faster than before, now pounding loudly within chest, echoing fear mixed unmistakably alongside thrill coursing through veins, igniting every nerve, ending alive once more. She turned slowly, meeting his gaze, locking onto hers, searching desperately for answers hidden carefully behind walls built high, protecting hearts fragile enough, already shattered, pieces scattered across ground left behind, remnants past mistakes made, choices regretted, haunting every decision taken since beginning journey embarked upon long ago. What is it? She managed, finally breaking silence thick enough, slice through tension hanging heavily above heads, waiting inevitable confrontation looming closer each passing second, ticking away precious minutes lost forever, unable reclaim innocence stolen away by choices made impulsively without foresight, consequences lurking just beyond reach. His expression shifted subtly, revealing something deeper than mere concern, an understanding, perhaps mixed unease brewing just below surface, waiting patiently, ready strike when least expected. I don't think we're okay, he said quietly, finally addressing truth long buried beneath layers pain kept hidden far too long. And there they stood together, caught between realities colliding, creating tension thick enough, sliced through silence hanging heavily above heads, waiting inevitable confrontation looming closer each passing second, ticking away precious minutes lost forever, unable reclaim innocence stolen away by choices made impulsively without foresight, consequences lurking just beyond reach. The sun dipped low over the Charleston waterfront, casting a warm golden hue across the water. I found myself drawn to this place, a sanctuary where the noise of my life faded into the background. The gentle lapping of waves against the docks provided a rhythm that matched my racing heart. I had come here seeking clarity, but as I stood there, staring out at the horizon, my mind was anything but clear. Thoughts of my nephew lingered in every corner of my consciousness. The laughter we shared felt like a distant echo now, overshadowed by guilt and confusion. I hadn't anticipated how deeply our connection would affect me. Each moment spent with him had been intoxicating, yet I was acutely aware of the boundaries I was crossing. The weight of my marriage pressed heavily on my chest, reminding me of promises made and vows taken. As I leaned against the railing, a stranger approached, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and an easy smile. She noticed my distracted gaze and struck up a conversation. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" she said, her voice warm and inviting. "Yes," I replied absently, still lost in thought. She studied me for a moment before continuing. "You look like you have something on your mind." I hesitated but felt an inexplicable urge to share. "I'm at a crossroads in my life," I admitted softly. "Ah, that can be tough," she said knowingly. "What's troubling you?" I took a deep breath and poured out my heart to this stranger, my feelings for my nephew, the guilt that consumed me, and the growing rift in my marriage. She listened intently without judgment. You know, she said after a pause, life is too short to live in shadows. Sometimes we find ourselves in unexpected places. Her words resonated deeply within me. But what about loyalty? I questioned, feeling torn between desire and duty. Loyalty is important, she acknowledged gently. But so is being true to yourself. You deserve happiness too. Her perspective shifted something inside me. It was as if she had illuminated paths I hadn't dared to consider before. As we spoke more about love and choices, how they can intertwine yet lead us astray, I began to see myself not just as a wife or an aunt but as a woman deserving of joy. Have you ever faced such choices? I asked her curiously. Oh yes, she smiled wistfully. When you've lived as long as I have, you learn that every decision carries its own weight. Her honesty encouraged me to reflect more deeply on my situation instead of merely reacting out of fear or impulse. As our conversation drew to a close, she placed her hand on mine reassuringly. Trust yourself, whatever decision you make will be yours alone. I watched her walk away into the fading light, feeling both lighter and heavier at once, a strange paradox that mirrored my life's current state. Her words echoed in my mind, trust yourself. With renewed resolve, I decided it was time to confront the truth about what was happening between my nephew and me, not just for his sake or even for mine, but for the sake of clarity that had eluded me for so long. When I returned home later that evening, the house felt different, almost foreign, as if it were filled with echoes rather than warmth. My husband sat at the dining table immersed in paperwork, his brow furrowed with concentration mirrored the tension between us. Hi, he said absent-mindedly without looking up. Hi, I replied softly as I moved toward him. He glanced up finally and frowned slightly at my expression. Everything okay? I need to talk to you about something important, I stated firmly yet cautiously. His eyes narrowed slightly, he sensed gravity beneath my words. What is it? I hesitated but knew this moment couldn't wait any longer. The truth demanded its due respect regardless of how painful it might be for both of us. I've been feeling disconnected from you lately, from us, I began slowly, choosing each word carefully while gauging his reaction closely. He leaned back in his chair defensively, arms crossed over his chest like armor shielding him from further assault on our fragile peace. What do you mean by disconnected? We're fine. No, we're not fine. My voice trembled slightly under pressure but remained steady enough to push through his defenses. I think we both know it. A flicker of vulnerability crossed his face before he masked it again with irritation, a familiar dance we had performed countless times over years spent together navigating uncharted waters filled with resentment and misunderstanding. What are you trying to say? He demanded sharply now. Anger simmered just below surface tension threatening eruption at any moment's notice. I've been exploring feelings outside our marriage. The admission hung heavy between us like an anchor dragging down everything we once held dear. A confession laced with both fear and liberation mingling together into one raw truth laid bare upon table before us both now vulnerable yet resolute facing reality head-on finally after years spent avoiding confrontation altogether. You mean, infidelity? His voice dropped low as disbelief morphed into anger, an emotion that seemed all too familiar yet entirely new at this moment too. Betrayal stung sharper than any physical wound ever could leave behind. It's complicated. My voice rose instinctively defending myself against accusations swirling around us like storm clouds ready to unleash fury overhead if left unchecked much longer. Complicated? You think this is complicated? He shook his head incredulously, disbelief painted across features contorted into anger masking pain lurking just beneath surface waiting patiently bide time until opportunity arose strike back when least expected most likely. What do you want from me? He spat finally breaking silence thickening air surrounding us both now suffocating any chance reconciliation might offer. I want honesty. My voice cracked under pressure, revealing cracks forming within facade built over years spent pretending everything was okay while inside crumbled slowly apart piece by piece until nothing remained except hollow shell left behind, longing desperately fill void somehow, created a long way. We stood there locked in confrontation, neither willing back down nor relent. Accusations flew like daggers, piercing hearts already wounded beyond repair, leaving scars etched deep within souls forever altered after this moment, forever changed paths set forth ahead, uncertain future looming ominously close yet shrouded, uncertainty leaving behind only questions unanswered, lingering doubts haunting every step taken thereafter. The air between us crackled with unspoken words as I struggled to articulate the turmoil roiling inside me. My husband's anger hung heavy in the room, a palpable presence that suffocated any chance of reconciliation. "You think this is easy for me?" I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "I've been feeling lost for years." "Lost?" he shot back, incredulous. "And you chose to find yourself in the arms of our nephew? Is that how you do it?" Each word dripped with accusation, and I felt myself retreating into a corner of shame. "We haven't been together in years," I countered, desperation creeping into my voice. "You've been so absorbed in your work, and the admission hung in the air like a fragile balloon ready to burst." His eyes narrowed, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of vulnerability beneath his anger. "So, it's my fault? You couldn't talk to me? You had to go outside our marriage?" His tone was sharp, but beneath it lay an echo of pain that mirrored my own. "I didn't plan this," I exclaimed, frustration bubbling over. "I didn't want it to happen. It just did." My heart raced as I thought about how quickly everything had spiraled out of control. "Did what? Did you fall in love with him?" His voice was low now, almost a growl. The question hung between us like a guillotine poised to drop. "No. It's not love, it's confusion." I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. I wanted to feel something again, anything. "You don't understand what it's like to be invisible in your own home. Maybe you should have thought about that before you crossed lines we both agreed were sacred," he shot back. The accusation stung like ice water thrown on an open wound. "Sacred? What about the sanctity of our communication? Our connection?" My voice trembled as I spoke, each word laced with years of pent-up frustration. "You've been living your life while I've been here alone." He paused then, his expression shifting from anger to something softer, a flicker of understanding. "You think you're the only one who feels alone?" His voice softened slightly. "I've felt disconnected too." The revelation struck me like lightning. "What do you mean?" "I've noticed how distant we've become," he admitted reluctantly. But instead of talking about it, we just let it fester. A silence fell between us as we both grappled with this shared acknowledgement. The realization that we were both struggling felt like an unexpected bond forming amid the chaos. "But that doesn't excuse what you did," he continued, his tone regaining its edge. "No, it doesn't," I conceded quietly. "But maybe if we had talked sooner." My words trailed off as doubt crept back into my mind. He shook his head slowly, disappointment etched on his features. "You don't get to rewrite history because you made choices without thinking them through." The accusations hung thick in the air again, suffocating any hope for resolution. Every word exchanged felt like another brick added to the wall between us rather than tearing it down. "I just wanted something real," I whispered finally, feeling defeated by the weight of my own desires and regrets. "And now look where that got us," he replied bitterly. As we stood there amidst our shattered dreams and unresolved tensions, an uncomfortable truth settled over us. Neither one of us knew how to bridge the chasm that had formed over years spent neglecting each other's needs and emotions. "I can't keep living like this," I said finally, breaking the silence that had grown oppressive around us. "Then what do you want?" His question was pointed yet tinged with uncertainty. I want clarity. The words slipped from my lips before I could stop myself, an admission laden with implications neither one of us was ready to face fully. Clarity or closure, he challenged softly but firmly. I hesitated at his question. Both words loomed large over our conversation like looming shadows waiting for light or resolution they might never receive. Maybe both, I finally admitted as tears threatened once more, this time not from guilt but from sheer exhaustion at trying to navigate this tumultuous emotional landscape alone while feeling trapped within its confines. You need time then, he said quietly after a moment's pause filled only by the sound of our breaths mingling uneasily together, a reminder that life continued even amidst chaos surrounding us both now more than ever before. Just then, my phone buzzed on the table nearby, the sudden noise cutting through our tension like a knife through soft butter, and instinctively reached for it before realizing who might be reaching out at such an awkward moment, my nephew. My heart raced again, memories flooded back uninvited, the laughter shared during fleeting moments together juxtaposed against everything unraveling right now. I glanced at my husband, uncertainty flickered across his features as he watched me hesitate between two worlds, one filled with familiar comfort yet hollow connections while another beckoned alluringly promising excitement yet fraught with perilous consequences waiting just beyond reach. What is it? He asked cautiously when he noticed my expression shift from confusion towards something deeper, a hint perhaps toward longing buried beneath layers carefully constructed over years spent pretending all was well when clearly nothing remained intact anymore. It's nothing important. But even as those words escaped my lips they felt hollow too, like echoes bouncing off walls built around fears left unaddressed far too long already. His brow furrowed slightly, disappointment lingered still but mixed now with concern, as if sensing something lurking behind those innocuous words spoken aloud meant little compared against truths left unsaid lingering heavily within hearts yearning desperately for release. Before either one could respond further however another message chimed through pulling attention away entirely leaving behind only questions unanswered lingering doubts haunting every step taken thereafter. In that moment everything shifted again, like tides pulling away from shore revealing hidden depths previously obscured by surface calmness masking turbulent undercurrents swirling dangerously beneath. And just like that, I found myself standing at yet another precipice staring into abyss ahead wondering whether choices made would lead towards freedom or further entrapment forevermore. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the Charleston waterfront. I stood there, my heart heavy with a mix of dread and uncertainty. The waves lapped gently at the shore, but inside me, a storm brewed, a tempest of emotions that had no clear resolution. The weight of my choices pressed down on me like an anchor. I had tasted something forbidden, something that ignited parts of me long dormant, yet the reality of my life loomed large. My husband's face flashed in my mind, his furrowed brow when he sensed my distance, the way his voice trembled when he confronted me about late nights and unexplained absences. Just as I was about to turn away from the water's edge, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from him, "We need to talk." The words felt like a knife twisting in my gut. What could he possibly want? Did he know? I had been careful, but secrets have a way of unraveling, especially when they are woven into the fabric of daily life. I took a deep breath and shoved the phone back into my pocket. My thoughts drifted back to him, my nephew. The moments we shared danced around me like fireflies in the twilight. He had become a part of this chaotic tapestry of feelings I couldn't quite untangle. But now, I sensed a shift in his demeanor during our last conversation. There was something different, an underlying tension that hadn't existed before. "Emma," he had said softly, his eyes searching mine. "I've been thinking." I could feel it then, the air thick with unspoken words hanging between us like a fragile thread ready to snap at any moment. Now here I stood on the brink of losing everything, my marriage and this newfound connection that had brought unexpected joy amid sorrow. What was I really searching for? Was it love or merely an escape from loneliness? As if answering my unvoiced questions, I heard footsteps approaching behind me. Turning slightly, I saw him there, my nephew, his expression unreadable against the backdrop of fading sunlight. "Hey," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Hey," I replied, trying to keep my tone steady despite the whirlwind within. He stepped closer, his presence both comforting and disconcerting. "I wanted to check on you." "Why?" The words slipped out before I could stop myself. He hesitated for a moment before continuing. "I've been feeling different lately." His gaze dropped to the ground as if afraid to meet mine directly. "Different?" The word hung heavily between us, a reminder that our connection was shifting again into unfamiliar territory. "I think we need to talk," he finally said, glancing up at me with those familiar eyes that once sparkled with youthful innocence but now held something deeper, something complicated. "What do you mean?" My heart raced as fear crept in alongside curiosity. "I've met someone," he confessed quietly, as if sharing a secret too precious to be loud about. The words struck me like lightning, shock coursed through my veins. "Someone?" "Yes," he affirmed softly. "It's new, but it feels real." A wave of emotions crashed over me, relief mixed with an unexpected pang of jealousy. How could this be happening now? Just when everything seemed so precarious between us? "I'm happy for you," I managed to say despite the tightness in my throat. His eyes searched mine again, they were filled with uncertainty and perhaps regret. "But what does this mean for us?" What did it mean for us? Those words echoed ominously in my mind as I grappled with their implications. Would this newfound relationship push him away completely? Or would it force me to confront what we had been building together? "I don't know," I admitted honestly, feeling raw and exposed under his scrutiny. He stepped back slightly as if creating distance between us, a physical manifestation of the emotional chasm yawning wide beneath our feet. "I just thought," he trailed off, shaking his head slightly as if trying to shake off thoughts too heavy to bear aloud. My heart sank further as silence enveloped us once more, the kind that felt suffocating rather than comfortable now that everything hung in limbo between desire and obligation. "We can still be friends," he offered tentatively after what felt like an eternity passed without either of us speaking further. "Friends?" The word tasted bitter on my tongue. It felt inadequate for what we had shared or what lingered unacknowledged between us still. Would being friends suffice when all I wanted was more than platonic comfort? Before I could respond or even consider how best to articulate what swirled within me, his phone buzzed loudly against the quiet backdrop of evening sounds, a stark reminder that life continued outside our bubble of confusion and longing. He glanced down at it before looking back up at me again, this time determination etched across his features like steel forged under pressure. "I need to go." "Go?" Panic flared within me at the thought of losing him while simultaneously grappling with feelings too tangled to unravel clearly now amidst this sudden shift in our dynamic. "Yes." He nodded firmly, though reluctance flickered behind his eyes momentarily before hardening into resolve again, a mask hiding uncertainty beneath its facade just like mine had done so many times recently when faced with difficult truths regarding love lost or found anew amidst chaos surrounding both our lives now intertwined so unexpectedly these past few weeks. "Okay," I replied softly even though every part of me screamed otherwise, the urge to reach out and stop him battling fiercely against reason urging restraint instead given circumstances spiraling beyond control faster than either one could manage alone anymore. As he turned away from me slowly yet purposefully, I felt something break inside myself, not just another thread unraveling but rather an entire tapestry collapsing upon itself leaving nothing but frayed edges where vibrant colors once danced together harmoniously across its surface. And just then, I understood there would be no easy answers waiting down any path chosen moving forward, only loneliness lurking ahead regardless which direction taken next. With one final glance back over his shoulder towards where I stood rooted helplessly by indecision, I watched helplessly as shadows swallowed him whole beneath fading light until all that remained were echoes reverberating through empty spaces left behind.